So this is a drone shot of the UCLA campus in Los Angeles. Police flooded in this evening, declaring the demonstration an unlawful assembly, coming up against protesters who've been camping out there and are vowing to remain. Lindsay Duncombe is there right now. Lindsay, I know it's dark, I know it's hard to see and hear, but can you give us a sense of how the situation has changed over the course of the evening?
Well, right now we are seeing additional police officers, different forces being brought in. I want to show you a line of officers there. They are from the Highway Patrol here in California, and right now they are the closest to the barricades there, the plywood barricades that have been added alongside the encampment. And you know, up until last night, the protests at this university were relatively calm. But then what happened is there was a movement of counter-protesters that went up against those barricades before that plywood was there and created some of the most violent scenes that we have seen as this whole situation with U.S. campuses played out. 15 people ended up in hospital, or 15 people were injured. One ended up in hospital. There were student journalists who say that they were attacked with a kind of pepper spray. There was fireworks and a lot of criticism for the fact that it took a long time for campus security and LAPD to come in. So as a result of that, what we have now is an order to disperse being read out to the people in the encampment. That was several hours ago. Since that time, the standoff has intensified. We are hearing the protesters on one side really call out the police officers, telling them to quit their jobs. Obviously, the passionate cries to free Palestine that have been echoed across campuses all over the United States and in Canada too.
I'm just curious about something, Lindsay. UCLA is not like an urban university. This is like a sprawling, open campus. Can you orient us a little bit in terms of where you are? We see the plywood, but where is everybody else? What's happening?
Well, if we go further away from that encampment, I want to walk you through what is Dixon Square. This is an idyllic campus. It is in the middle of one of the most wealthy enclaves in a wealthy city of Los Angeles. Dylan, if you can just pan past the Highway Patrol officers and come toward the officers in the middle of Dixon Square here, we can see the officers lining up there, and on the other side, there are, I would say, a couple of hundred protesters who have gathered. They've been there for several hours now. That's where a lot of the cheers, the yelling that you're hearing directed at the officers is coming from. And so this standoff situation is really created right in the middle of the campus, which, as you mentioned, is this sort of sprawling, idyllic, beautiful spot. Earlier, we saw some of these images of intensity playing out alongside people, studying, hacky-sacking. It's just very a disjointed sense of being on an American campus at this time.
All right, Lindsay, thank you. We know the classes are virtual there tomorrow. Who knows what's going to happen overnight?
Yes.
We appreciate that. Lindsay Duncombe and crew in Los Angeles tonight. So that encampment is just the latest one that police have moved in on today, and one of many dotted across the U.S. and Canada. Chris Reyes takes us through what's already a very tense 24 hours.
A chant ringing out at campuses across the U.S. Even as the effort to break up the pro-Palestinian encampments has reached a boiling point, with massive police mobilizations and arrests. At the University of Wisconsin, police in riot gear moved in to clear tents. The situation heated up fast.
As our teams pushed forward to try and secure that camping equipment, protesters pushed back, some turned violent, and it resulted in several arrests.
At UCLA, a clash between pro-Palestinian protesters and counter-protesters turned chaotic and violent overnight.
I just didn't think that it would ever escalate to this level where our protest is met by counter-protesters who are violently hurting us, inflicting pain on us when we are not doing anything to them.
In New York, some semblance of calm at Columbia University after hundreds of police moved in Tuesday night to clear tents from the school's main square and remove protesters occupying Hamilton Hall, an academic building on campus.
Approximately 300 people were arrested at Columbia and City College. We are processing the arrests to distinguish between who were actual students and who were not supposed to be on the ground.
They ambushed us, they tackled us, they beat us.
Still, many are seething from what happened. Protesters are calling for the school to divest from companies supporting Israel's government.
This is the conscience of a nation speaking through your kids, through young people who are risking their futures, who are risking suspension, expulsion, criminal arrest in order to wake people up in this country.
And not far from Columbia tonight, police moved in to clear an encampment at New York Fordham University, making arrests.
And Chris, you're at Fordham University tonight, and really, just like last night at Columbia, you were there today as police moved in.
That's right, Adrienne, when dozens of officers in tactical gear surrounded this school this afternoon, it felt like a repeat of what happened at Columbia last night. They came in to take down an encampment inside that just went up this morning. It was over quickly, but the sense that you get is that for every camp cleared out, this movement is energized to find other locations. So officials may be worried about graduation ceremonies in the weeks ahead, but pro-Palestinian demonstrators are saying that is not our problem. They have a cause and they're going to fight for it.
All right, Chris Reyes in New York. Thanks, Chris. Let's go to Montreal. Sarah Levitt is at McGill. A win for protesters there, Sarah, after an emergency injunction to stop the encampment there was denied.
And Adrienne, a very different environment here than what we just heard from Chris and Lindsay. A lot of jubilation from that injunction being denied. That's lasted throughout the day. You can see them, they're cheering and yelling, and this has just been going on all day. Now, this request was an emergency injunction to have this camp dismantled, as well as having these protesters be banned from rallying within 100 meters of McGill campus. It was brought on by two students from McGill who said they felt unsafe. Now, the judge, in her ruling, rejected the injunction and said there wasn't enough evidence to warrant such a strict measure. Let's hear from someone from this protest about how they felt about that.
I think it shows that we're standing on the right side of history, the side of justice, the side of equality. We're standing with the oppressed people of Palestine. And so, yeah, we're very happy, as you can see.
Now, the lawyer who defended with the two McGill students did say that he accepted that decision, but he had this message for McGill in particular.
McGill has to get off the fence, stop acting like Switzerland, because the way that campus is going, you're going to see what's happening at Columbia University in the United States of America, what's happening at UCLA. We are Canadians, we are Quebecers. These are not our values.
Noteworthy, Adrienne, in the judge's decision was a little bit of advice for the protesters here. She said, watch the language that you use because it could be misinterpreted as being anti-Semitic or as calls for violence. Now, McGill says they continue to monitor the situation here.
And Sarah, we're also hearing about protest encampments popping up on other Canadian campuses, right?
Yeah, well, we know about the University of British Columbia, but now we're seeing encampments at the University of Victoria as well as Western. And those daily protests being held at the University of Ottawa, well, now the tents are staked in. And, you know, police have said that they're monitoring this situation carefully here in McGill. But the protesters say even if police come in, they're not going anywhere.
All right, Sarah Levitt in Montreal for us tonight.